To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on its plans for Scottish carbon credits, including how it ensures benefits for local communities.
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, the Scottish Government is committed to establishing a values-led, high-integrity market for responsible private investment in our natural capital, and this is as set out in the National Strategy for Economic Transformation. This commitment includes the voluntary carbon market, as backed up by the Committee on Climate Change, and is supported by our interim principles for responsible investment in natural capital. These principles set out that investment should deliver integrated land use, should provide public, private and community benefit, should demonstrate engagement and collaboration, have ethical and be values-led, be of high environmental integrity and support diverse and productive land ownership. And these are Scottish Ministers' expectations of those who would invest in our natural capital.
Richard Leonard.
Can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that reply? But isn't it the case that far from protecting community interests in achieving net zero, the SNP Green Government has embarked on an exercise in privatising our nature and opening up carbon credits to speculators and giant corporations to asset strip, cash in, make all the gains and so widen the wealth inequality gap even further? They include FleetCor, which sells fuel cards to the road haulage industry, the oil giant Shell, defence companies like Thales, banks like Barclays. How is that green sustainable or even in the national interest? How is that values-led? Is this what equality, opportunity, community looks like under this SNP Green Government?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, quite the opposite to the narration from Richard Leonard. This is about the Scottish Government recognising that our natural capital is an exceptionally valuable asset to our people and to our environment. It's about recognising that there are many interventions that we need to take in our natural environment which will help us rise to the climate and nature emergency and have other co-benefits, including good green jobs in rural areas. But the public purse can never and will never fund those interventions alone. So we are dedicating ourselves to, as Ms Martin set out, leveraging necessary private investment, but doing so in a pioneering way, I've got to say, and in a way that is values-led, high integrity, which is additional, verifiable and which benefits the people of this country. And I've got to say that sits alongside the development of an ambitious land reform bill and continued investment in the Scottish Land Fund, which is helping communities throughout the country buy land and assets in their local areas and put them to local use.
And supplementary, Maurice Golden.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Pension and hedge funds are engaged in the carbon market, similar to the position on the deposit return scheme, where the SNP Greens decided to award a multi-million-pound waste collection contract to an American hedge fund. Can the Cabinet Secretary confirm to Parliament that it is SNP Green policy to develop new initiatives in order to benefit multinational hedge funds?
Cabinet Secretary.
No, Presiding Officer, that is not this Government's motivation. As I've just narrated in response to Richard Leonard, our motivation is seeking to harness the opportunities that we have in abundance in Scotland in a way which helps us to rise to the climate and nature emergency, but equally in a way that empowers our people to benefit from the schemes and the developments that will happen in the communities around them. And I refer Maurice Golden back to those principles for responsible investment in natural capital. These are pioneering principles. They are being referred to by other organisations and countries who are trying now to do likewise, and they state very clearly Ministers' expectations, and I would refer him to them on ethical and values-led investment, on high environmental integrity, on public, private and community benefit, and I'd be more than happy to furnish Maurice Golden with evidence of how these are now being utilised by those who are investing in Scotland.